Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a good day today. If you guys like, you guys can also say good morning in your own
Good
language.
morning.
Selamat
Good
pagi.
morning.
Selamat pagi. Good
Magandang
morning.
umaga po. Magandang umaga.
Love it. And I hope that you guys have had a little bit of time to just kind of recalibrate over the weekend. And yeah, I'm not sure if you had a long week or a short week, but yeah. So far, we have about 38 people in the room, and I think that's a great time for us to also start an icebreaker because I love icebreakers. So let's go. So welcome to the Ask Me Anything. This is the final webinar. So I hope thank you so much for coming, especially for those of you guys who attended exactly on time. It means a lot for me to see all the people who shows like so much willingness and proactivity. And for you to really leverage the organizers attention for you, because yeah, this is like the only opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have with regards to the YSEALI Seeds for the Future. So thank you so much for your effort. Really appreciate it, especially on a Saturday morning when you could have been like sleeping in. So how we're going to do today is gonna be so there's not gonna be a lot of slides from me because today is all about you guys. So as always, we're gonna do a bit of an icebreaker and then interactive Q&A, and then after that, if anyone has any questions about what's next, we will be also closing with that. So some housekeeping as kind of similar to the last week. If you can just change your name to your name, your nickname, your team name, and your country, so that we can also know where you guys are tuning in from, which group you guys are from. That would be really great. I'm not too hung up about being muted, especially because today is Ask Me Anything. So if you guys prefer to ask questions, by raising your hand, you can do that, but I think I will probably prioritize questions in the chat, unless Putri, my co-worker, says that there are no more questions. Then you guys are more than welcome to also like raise your hands. And yeah, so if you have any similar questions, please put a reaction to it so that we know how important for us to emphasize on the answer. All right, so as always, let's kind of do a icebreaker. So icebreaker instructions similar to the last session. You guys are going to click annotate, and then you guys are going to feel free to do stamps or draw or anything you wish. I think if possible, Putri, you can help me clear out the annotation. That would be really helpful. But if not, that's fine too. All right, so first and foremost, this is what we're gonna do. Again, tell us where you guys are from, where are you guys tuning in from today? And, if you can identify your city, that would be really great too. So we have people from Cambodia, from Manila, from Kuala Lumpur, from Phnom Penh, from Hanoi, from Brunei. It's so lovely to see everyone from everywhere. So know that, this is a very diverse group of people. Yeah, we also have people from the Java Islands in Indonesia, the Kalimantan people, from Burma. So many representation. We have, we also have, I was about to ask if we have representation from Singapore, and yes, we do. We also have people from Laos and different parts of, do we have people from Thailand today? This is so cute. All right, so I think we're going to clear all drawings. Thank you so much. And then we're going to go to the next one. So the next one is, hang on. So for the next one, this is a word search. And it is filled with many, many words that is positive. And I think, like, hopefully the first words that you can see is something, yeah, something that defines you or also like describes you and your team. So we have someone, we are ambitious, we're gracious, we're generous, lovable. You guys are doing really good. This is like really fast. I was like I was pretty struggling, if I have to say so myself. We're honest, fun. Wow, extraordinary. Anyone else sees any other words? Wow, courageous. Good job. That was hard. So far, what do we have? So we have ambitious, lovable, extraordinary, honest, fun, gracious, courageous, generous, excited. Good job. I think like the middle is pretty hard. We're gonna give this maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then after that, we're going to kind of proceed. And in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, feel free to like, just put them in the chat. Let's see what we have so far. Yeah, Tina, my eyes are definitely struggling as well because I'm just like, I don't know, I don't really see any other things as well. Oh, good job. Somebody found confident. Good job, good job. That was a difficult one. All right, maybe 10 more seconds. Oh, some of you guys, yep, clever. Someone said UFO, so I don't know. We might have some aliens in the room too. We have amazing. Good job. You guys are definitely really doing really good. All right, so I'm gonna spare you guys from all this. Oh, there you go. We have strong too. Wow, you guys did really well. So I'm going to spare you from your misery and move on. And then let's see. These are the words that are in the word search, but I feel like it definitely describes each and every one of you guys for all the work that you guys do. So yeah, just I hope that today also is a good reminder for all the work that you do. You guys are also you're validated, you are seen, and we hope to like continue working with you guys yeah, throughout this journey. So know that you guys are awesome, and all these words describe all of you guys. So the next one is, how are we feeling? Especially like in doing how's your progress in the seats, because I do see that we have received some. So yeah, we have SpongeBob who's like panicking. Squidward who's just trying to get by, just trying to grind away. Excited, but at the same time really, really tired. And then there's like Patrick who's just zen. Also, as you can see, I'm a huge, huge fan of SpongeBob. So that's why I just really love using like, SpongeBob's references. But yes, I love that, someone is definitely feeling the zen. We also do have some people like, just panicking like SpongeBob. And then just like, yeah, Squidward, like, trying to just manage life without straining, like spreading themselves too thin. And I think, as we get older in life, I feel like a lot of people can definitely resonate with Patrick a lot more. Ah, so Luna, I just want to let you know that I see that you see witty too. All right, so yeah, this is where everyone is. Thank you so much. And then this is what we're going to do now. Mm, all right, ice is broken, and now we are going to move on with ask me anything. Okay, so yes, I'm a bit nervous about this because, hopefully I have all the answers. But I guess before that, if I were to say anything, like, make sure that you have read everything on the application guide. You also have read all the questions in the help center. I think a lot of the questions are from there. So I expect to have very specific questions from you guys today. So let's try and see. Okay, let's see all the questions then. So first question from Zat. On the proposal, do we need to fill out baseline indicator target risk assumptions data collection for all outcome output and activity or only outcome? So Zad, if you can see, we have provided a sample in the guide, so you can use that as a reference on what that means. I think so. Yeah, that's one thing that you can also that you can consider doing. Um, and then let's see, what's the next? The next question from Side is that do we need to use the template for project logic and planning? Yes, so I strongly recommend using the template because that kind of help you like to make things a little bit more concise and small because and you can also save a lot of space by using tables instead of using the just writing everything. Because remember that your your page limit is only 5 pages. And also if you don't think if you need to like not sign or whatever, that's totally fine too. In the page if or just making your signature smaller in the acknowledgement page. So Sam from Indonesia, the guidelines specify that grants may not fund religious instruction, worship, proselytizing, but programs can be hosted by faith-based organizations as long as activities remain secular. We plan to host our climate education events at faith-based schools focusing on interfaith approach to focus inclusivity and mutual understanding without promoting any specific religion. That is completely fine. Thank you so much for asking, Sam. And yes, yeah, there is a difference between interfaith dialogues as opposed to just a specific religion. So what you are describing is totally fine. And then the second question is the application form requests comprehensive information about funding sources, including specific programs, amounts awarded, and utilization of funds. One of our team members has previously received grants from the US government. Should we provide a detailed breakdown of each item, or would a general overview suffice for this section? Yes, just one liner. Just say that one of our team member is a winner for the YSEALI Seeds for the Future in 2015. That's it. That's all I need to know. That's all we need to know. Just to kind of ascertain what kind of funding and resources that you have had in the past. So, and then the third one is for the cost share, we will collaborate with our embassy on the budget sheet. Should we estimate the amount in US dollars and specify how much of each item will be covered in the cost share? The budget sample shows 0 for cost share for each item. Should we follow this format? So apologies, but like, yeah, so the sample that I provided has no cost share, and that's why I put it as 0. But if you do have cost share, just put how much, like, the embassy is going to fund for your program. So I hope that explains, unless, if you have any clarifying thing, feel free to unmute yourself and just, if you have any other specific questions with regards to that, unless, if you have not, if you have no other further clarifying questions, I will move on to Dina Putri. So Dina said, it's said that the reviewers only read the first 5 pages. I am torn between providing detailed information and keeping it concise within the remaining space. Could you suggest an effective strategy to address this? Because blank template already takes up 4 pages. Yes. Well, I thought that the blank template only takes up 3, but okay. So let's kind of go through, like, let's go through the template.
Hi, can I ask about the cost share?
Yes.
The total cost, which is the cost share and the proposed cost, does it have to be like smaller than the total budget that we can have from YSEALI?
So your total budget from YSEALI will depend on your tier, but
Yeah,
the cost share can be bigger or smaller, whichever that you manage to get.
I see.
Does that help?
So just the proposed budget needs to be smaller than my tier. My tier is $12,000.
Yes.
So if my total budget is like $20,000, but I have $8,000 cost share, it's
Cost share.
fine, right?
That's fine. Yeah. And as long as you put that, your the total cost requested from like Seeds for the Future is 12,000, cost share is 8,000, total budget is 20,000.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much.
That helps. Yeah, no problem. Okay. So maybe what you can also do is, okay, so the template is 3 pages. What you can either do is that you can change the layout for this template, or you can also, like, change the margins a little bit, or you can also like change the font size to like a smaller size. I will not go less than 10. Font size 10 would be like the most, I mean, the minimum that you guys can do. So, and then, sorry, I'm gonna go back to the question. Yeah. Okay, so the question says, I'm torn between, okay, so torn between providing like a detailed versus concise. Just because it's concise does not mean that it is not detailed. Actually, sometimes we have a lot of filler words, and this is also a great exercise for the team to just make sure that you prioritize what you want to share, because just because it's long doesn't mean that it's just because it's long doesn't mean that it's full of, like, important information, because sometimes key information is, it's very small and concise. So for example, you can say, when I was going to work today, I saw a cat, and when I saw the cat, I was distracted, and because of that, my bumper, I was distracted on the road and accidentally ran over the car in front of me. So, like an easy way to say that is, I was involved in a car crash this morning. I think, like, yeah, so it's a good exercise, hopefully, for you to, like, try and put a lot of concise ideas within 100 and 200 words. Actually, 100 and 200 words is not too bad, because this is, for example, if you go and apply for like postgraduate schools too, like, sometimes they only ask like 500 words, and you have to fill in your entire life in 500 words, which is difficult, but also hopefully a fun challenge for you. So this is like, I think if you guys have any specific questions on the template, feel free to let me know. Let's see the next question. So Dina still says that it is said that reviewers only read the first. Oh, okay. So she already said that. Okay, so Shafika, she said for the implementation timeline, if we use Gantt chart instead of to fill in the table given, totally fine. If that helps you, like, in in communicating better, that's fine too, because I believe that so if you look at the template. Sorry, let me also share my screen again. So if you look at the template here, we did say that you may also choose to add graphs or Gantt charts to replace the table below. But make sure that all of this is written. So that's all that matters for us. Like, as long as all of this information is stated, then that would be really, really helpful. Next question. Shafika, okay, can we do 2 location for user acceptance test? Sabah and also in Cranberry. You can do however many locations you want for your project location, as long as you write down where it is. If our team are developing the apps with trained AI power solution, can be charged on the development as in our product development? Yes, you can. But yeah, so again, just read through. I mean, as long as it's not like, heavy equipment or machinery, you can use that. So Nat, if we are selected, I understand that there will be personal mentor. Are you able to tell me the type or field of the mentor, like the background? Is it advocacy? Is it startup? So yeah, as we are trying to identify mentors, so there are going to be 2 types of mentors. First one is like project management mentors, which is like, people helping you in your, programmatic side, the logistics of it, the running and implementing part of the program. And then there's also a thematic skills mentor. So like thematic skills means like, very specific skill sets. And I think, we would probably be able to identify or like, confirm on these mentors based on the specific interests of the cohort. So like if a lot of the cohort is like, for example, from the environmental issues, then there will be a heavier emphasis on like, maybe environmental mentors. And then if there are people, with specific skill sets, so we would probably have to like look at the cohort in general and see what are the needs. And this is also based on the needs assessment once people have been chosen to. On the proposal template, there are a certain number of activities that we need to fill in. Can we add more number of activities? Yes, you can add however many or little number of activities as long as it fits in the page limit. So like, you can also consolidate some of these activities. You don't have to be like, gathering, for example, you don't have to like put like every single step. You can just say selection process, that's considered as an activity, rather than like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I hope that helps. But yeah, so can we read, RT asks, can we reduce the number of communities we want to work with if we initially set 2 in the application stage 1, and now I want to reduce to 1 community only considering the budget and feasibility? Yes, you can, but please make sure that you justify them, because we have records of your stage 1 application, and similar to what I said in the last session, like the reason why you're selected for stage 2 is based on what you mentioned in stage 1. So if there's like, a big change between stage 1 and stage 2, that would like, it will get flagged. And so make sure that there is a justification as to why you want to change the number of communities from 2 to 1. The exchange rate by military government, the actual market exchange rate are different. Thus, how YSEALI sets transfer budget to our team can drastically affect budget allocation. Given that situation, can I use my personal bank account for fund distribution? I think for this, one is that I recommend that you ask if you know, like, the YSEALI coordinator or like the public diplomacy people in the US Embassy or in the American corner. You can seek consultation from them as to what would be recommended, because it depends on, yeah, so like I would suggest to, like, err on the side of, I mean, yeah, go and make sure that you allocate enough and, like, use the higher exchange rate. But if you want to use the Singapore, as long as, like, it would be easy for you to, like, receive such funding, because the last thing we want to happen to you is, like, for your account to be, like, kind of cut off, or you don't have access to, like, your Singaporean account. So that's something that you should also consider too. I think, like, you know your situation best. And if you need any consultation, I do recommend, like, reaching out to your local US embassies or consulates or American corner, just to see, like, what they would do, because they have had experience in, like, money transfers, international money transfers. For Danu says that I understand that this is somehow has been asked in the last webinar, but regarding the team member, is it okay to add more team members, not changing the original team members? So you can have as many, you can have like multiple members in your program, as long as we have the 3 core members, because these 3 core members are the ones that's going to be judged in the project proposal. And then for kickoff meeting, only representatives from the team can actually be present during the kickoff workshop. So, like, just know that not everyone will be able to be present in the regional workshop. And yeah, so it's still fine, as long as you try not to change the original makeup of the core members. And then,
Sorry,
yeah,
can I just add one more thing on that?
sure.
I think, yeah, out of the 3 for the kickoff workshop, it will only be 2 of the team members that are going to attend, that are invited. So yeah, just adding to that. So out of the 3, it's only 2.
Yeah, so hope you have that, like, difficult conversation with your team members before that. And then, so Dan will also ask, in the template, the first 4 fields, kind of redundant questions. Can we answer exactly like stage 1 application, or the judging panel expected something different or improve? Yeah, you can actually make it shorter if you think that it's, like, redundant, or, yeah. So, and that's why we kind of make it, like, relatively brief, because sometimes the selection committee are going to be different. So yeah, but you can still, like, kind of make it shorter, or make it more concise, so that you can have more space for other things that you want to write in the other proposals. But yes, that's a great point. Thank you, Danu. So Tina, can we attach additional materials, i.e. past projects, images, etc.? As long as it's within 5 pages, you can add whatever you want. But please know that we'll only be reading the first 5 pages. Danu, for the kickoff event in KL, who need to go? All team members required, or is there one team member that is unable to attend but the other can? Is it okay? Yes, so this is what we mentioned. Thank you, Nalindra, for mentioning that. So yes, only 2 representatives from your team will be able to go. And this is, like, up to your discretion on who will be going, but we will just be asking the team on who will be going. So that is on your discretion, who you want to represent your team. Parma, could you provide access to the application form we submitted during stage 1 so we can recheck its consistency? Unfortunately, there has been individual requests for copies. Unfortunately, we're not able to provide such copies, because due to the sheer number of these submissions, I don't think we would be able to cater to all of these requests. So yeah, I mean, I hope that you have, like, copies, or, like, you have done, you have kept some of your ideas someplace else. But if not, just let us know. So for the budget, Parma said, can the funding be allocated for the following purposes? payment for engineers, payment for API, payment for bug fixes, payment for IT personnel. So this is a very specific budget item, and as long as as you look at the criteria and read specifically on the restrictions, and if you don't think that any of this do not fall within the restrictions, that's like a general rules that you have to abide by. But if you don't think that this falls within those requirement or like restrictions, then you're good. Yeah, because people have asked, if they can pay for like fees or like services, and yeah, if it helps you with your if it helps you with the implementation of your program, then you have to reflect how it's reasonable and a justifiable purchase or expenses for you for your budget. I hope that helps, Parma. But yeah, it's like very specific, and so if it's like very specific, then I would recommend you to go back to the guide and then just refer to the restrictions and specific definitions. And if you don't think that it falls within any of the restrictions, then you are good. So Tyson said that does the project budget need to be strictly limited to $5,000? Can we raise additional funds externally? Would independently securing an additional 5,000 be considered an advantage during the evaluation process? So yes, what you mentioned, what you're describing is a cost share, and you can raise additional funds externally. And if you raise independently, I mean, I think if anything, it might actually reflect the sustainability portion of your program, knowing that there will be separate resources, or there will be separate resources if once the YSEALI seats for the future grant runs out. And then the second question by Tyson is that when completing the project overview session, are we strictly required to use only written paragraphs? Can we use tables or illustrations as alternatives? You can answer however way you want, but yeah, as long as it's within the 5-page limit. But yeah, I guess if you can just write everything within that table template, and just paste whatever you need to do in there, that's all we need. But yeah, just know that 5 pages is something that I would really emphasize. Do not go beyond 5 pages. I don't fully understand how to approach the monitoring and evaluation strategy section. Could you explain it more clearly and prove guidance on how to complete it? I recommend that you do a lot. I mean, so there's a lot of resources, a lot of guidance on monitoring and evaluation strategy. You can also read the guide on what is a good monitoring and evaluation plan. So describe how you are planning to first, I mean, if I were to say in simple terms, first is that what are you trying to based on the outcome, how do you plan to measure it? And also describe what is the outcome and output that you wanted to get out of this project. And then based on that outcome and output, determine how you're going to measure them. And then how you're going to measure them, that's so for example, you're running a workshop to empower 20 to empower 20 Indonesian students in sustainability issues. So that is the output, and then the outcome is that you hope that eventually these people will become environmental leaders in their community. So how do you plan to monitor the progress of these young adults, I mean of these young students, to to make sure that your output is successful? So first you have to have a baseline, right? So what is the current environmental or sustainability awareness, so you can either do a quiz, you can either do a survey, or sometimes you can also just see the behavioral patterns that they have, so how many of them spend time at the park, or how many of them, like you can do a quiz, like, what's their general understanding of, like, environmental issues in their communities. And then at the end of the program, you also measure and compare, like, by either doing another quiz, like, pre and post workshop, like quiz, right? So like you ask them questions like, what is, I don't know, like, what is plastic pollution? And they might not know that in the beginning, but then they would know it after the end of your program. Then that means you have gathered data, and then you can kind of see like how many % of them has improved after the conclusion of your workshop, something like that. So I hope that helps. I mean, I feel like the guide provides you a basic understanding, but I recommend that you do a thorough research on what, further on monitoring and evaluation, because that's an important question. Let's see. And then so Tyson, last question is like, when completing the project structure section, is it necessary to include baseline for each activity? It would be helpful for us to know what we're dealing with, and like, what is the baseline, because we're not from your communities and we don't know what is the baseline, right? So like, we also want to know, and for you and for you to also measure what is a good baseline in your community, which is why I think, like, workshop survey and, like, just talking to people would really help, so that we also know that when you are doing this program, it's not just something that you just came into a community and be like, hey, I have a great idea, and then you guys are going to follow what I'm going to say, but you really thoroughly, like, did your research, build rapport with, like, the community. They trust you, they want to work with you, they want to collaborate with you. And that's why I think, like, having a baseline and, like, research is very important. And for so Asaidatul says that, are there any specific margin size or orientation requirements for the proposal that we must follow? So for margins, nothing too specific, as long as we can see them in the PDF. But that, so font size is like no more than 10. So no more than font size 10. Sorry, no less than font size 10. If not, like, I would have to, like, use a microscope to just, like, read all your applications, and that would be really difficult. As we organize stage events at various locations, do we need to include all venues in detail within proposal, or should we only mention key venues as examples? I think it would be important. I mean, just write down, like, all your key venues, but you don't have to specify, you can just give one-liners. We don't need to, like, have very specific, like, events or schedule for each one of them, but you can just say, like a hygiene workshop in Cameron Highlands, in indigenous village in Cameron Highlands, and then another one in in, like, East Kalimantan, for example, so you can just say, like, specifically where, and then you can also mention, like, a general theme, or like a general topic that you're going to cover in that workshop or other site visits. Should we present the budget for events at how should we present the budget for events at multiple venues? Would you prefer a consolidated budget, or should we break it down by venue? I think, like, again, when it comes to very specific, like, case by case basis, we trust your discretion on how to communicate with the selection committee. Just know that budget has only 2-page limit. And I think the other thing is, like, just put yourself in a reviewer's shoe, where we don't know anything, but we also don't need to know everything. So, like, how do you, like, balance between, like, giving very concise, basic foundational information, and then if we do have any questions, we can always ask you. But I definitely say that it depends on your discretion and what makes sense for you and your team in order to communicate with externally. So in this sense, I recommend that you send this off, like, send your proposals to like your mentors, to to your peers, so that you can also get feedback on what they say before you submit this proposals, which is why it's really important for you to work on the proposal earlier, so that you have time for people to provide feedback, and then also like recalibrate or like review those feedback. Personally, for me, like if I have like proposals, I would work on it like in a month earlier, and then like 2 weeks before, I would start sending it out for like people to give reviews, and then like the final week is just tweaking and reviewing, and then after that, then I would feel comfortable in submitting. So I hope you would consider like the value. I mean, the feedback is it's so priceless for people, and it's always better, because I'm pretty sure that the selection committee has the same feedback or like have the same questions that your peers and your mentors might have too. Let's see. So Ahmad Sabirin says, what expenses should not be included in the budget plan? I think like, if it's an expense, just write it down. Just write everything down. And I'm not too sure, yeah, and just make sure that it's like within the restriction. So follow the guide on the budget. But yeah, Sabirin, if you want to unmute yourself, if there's any specific questions that with regards to the budget that I might not be answering, please feel free to unmute yourself. Concerning proposals, what type of proposals should be reviewed and considered? For example, if we're conducting a workshop or training, should the proposal be detailed the activity stages? It should, I mean, like, I'm not too sure if I understand this right, but yeah, I mean, in the activity stages, just write down everything that you want to write. And also if you're doing like, for example, one workshop, then you should also like mention like, the stages and the progress that you're going to do in each activity. And for example, for the workshop, like, if you are doing a workshop, for example, you don't have to specify every single activity. So I think like, activity here specifically means to like the implementation of your project. And then so your workshop can be one activity with like, sub bullet points on like, within that workshop, we're going to do like eco printing fabric, and then we're going to do like eco breaks, and then we're going to do like awareness raising or whatever. So that's like I think what I meant by activities. Regarding transportation, are we allowed to allocate funds for renting transportation? Yeah, again, like I would kind of refer back to like the guide and read the criteria if you don't think that is within any of the restrictions or any of the, yeah, I think is fine, as long as you're not purchasing such cars, or machinery. You can, yeah. So because travel is actually considered part of, yeah, travel is considered part of like a budget, so that's fine. Let's see. Approximately how many proposals are typically accepted? So this is a good question. Only out of in stage 2. Only 25 projects will be selected. So, and it also depends on your tier. And this is like discussed in the previous webinar too, if you want to take a look at it, where we broke down like specifically how many from each tier will receive will be included as a winning team. But like each winning tier is different. Let's see. So Marielle, problem statement, can it be the same problem statement that we put in the first application? Is it advised to make in-depth or concise? Yeah, I think kind of similar to what we mentioned just now, as long as it's within 100 and 200 words, like, you can add into whatever you want. And I think with the emphasize, so what we want to emphasize on is that whether your solution will actually address the problem statement or not. And I think we want to kind of see the linkages to that. So if you want to like, you can copy and paste, you know, from the first application, or if you want to, like, you know, it can be in-depth and concise too, right? You know, so like you can, what you can do is that, you know, you can provide like more context as to why your solution connects directly to the problem statement. That's what I would do. And then should we strictly follow the example project structure in the application guidelines? No, you do not have to strictly follow the example. You know, it's just an example. So if you think that, you know, yours is different, I mean, because every program is different. So yeah, feel free to do that. And then let's see. Would also like to clarify the outcome and output. Does the output imply an effect result of another? Mariel, do you want to clarify what you mean by this question?
Hello, good morning. I just want to clarify, maybe I'm just a little bit confused, but is the output like the tangible or the material result of the outcome, or is it the other
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, so yeah, I totally understand because, like, you know, personally for me, I also get confused between those two. So yes, so the output is specifically on what you are going to do about I mean, you know, the direct impact of your project, whereas the outcome is like, you know, something a little bit further. So like, you know, for the output, it's like, you know, your list of things to do, like your checklist, right? You know, so like you're going to run for example, like a workshop for 25 people, for 25 students, blah blah blah. And then for the outcome, you know, like developing environmental leaders in the next 5 years or something. Does that help?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. But I do have another
Yeah.
question that is not totally related to the others. As to the project of objectives, does this refer to the general objective, or do you have to specify the specific objectives?
So specific objectives to your project?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. So program objectives is like specifically referring to your project. And you know, I think like the general advice is to make sure that your objective is SMART. So yeah, it's specific, measurable. Let's see, A is, sorry, let me
Attainable.
just, sorry.
Attainable.
Yes, yes, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So yes, that's yeah, that's a SMART goal. So yeah, that would be really helpful in developing your objectives.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. And thank you so much for all your patience, by the way. And I hope, like, you know, all my yapping actually makes sense for all of you guys too. Okay, so May says that sometimes oh, okay, yeah. So I think May says that sometimes the outcome and output activities seem to overlap. If the output can be clearly defined, is it acceptable to omit the lower level activities? May, do you wanna like specify what you mean by like lower level activities?
I mean that we have lots of activities, so I just want to omit some similar activities if we can clearly define on the above activities. Is it be possible?
Yeah, I would probably like consolidate them. And for example, say like a workshop, and then each one of them has like multiple activities, right? So just say no workshop.
Oh, I see. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so that kind of includes like all your lower activities too, right?
Yes,
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks. It's so
yes.
nice to like, you know, also unmute yourself. So yeah, I think this is nice. Just keep on like, you know, chiming in if you guys have any specific questions. Putri says that for the partnership, how detailed YSEALI seats want it to be. It doesn't have to be like, you know, very specific and, you know, and say like, oh, our team will be working with like, the Women and Children's Hospital with regards to this, but you can just say that, we have like some organization has expressed interest, or like, but it would be really helpful for us to also know in what capacity are they helping you. You might not be able to know like specific activities on what they're going to do, but then you can just say that the Women and Children's Hospital agreed to host us, or Women and Children's Hospital agreed to provide participants, or like, to have like to have 25 of their participants to participate in our workshop. I don't know. Does that help? Putri, yes, let me know. Irvine, what specifically should we need to indicate like keywords in the data collection methodology? Specific keywords, no specific keywords, I guess, like, because every single program is so different. So like there is no specific keywords that you need, but as long as we can see that your data collection strategy makes sense. So because of that, I also recommend Irvin to just do your research on what's a good data collection methodology when it comes to when it relates to your program. So this is an example that I love to use. You want to measure how many people washes their hands after using the toilet. So, and this is a monitoring and evaluation question, right? If you want to measure this, do you ask people to fill in the survey to say like, I wash my hands after I use the toilet? People can lie. So it's not necessarily like the most effective way of measuring your data collection. But what if you just park yourself in different toilets for 2 hours and just see how many people go to the toilet and how many % of them actually wash their hands? That's an observation of behavioral patterns. So sometimes like, not like surveys are not necessarily the most effective way in your specific project or in your specific program to measure data collection. So, be creative with it. There's so many ways to do it. And then let's see, Della, is it okay to include the cost of renting a house? Unfortunately, this is not allowed. Please refer to the guideline onto restrictions. But yeah, so like overhead costs, salaries, and running your organization should not be part of like the funding expenses.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm
Yes.
May, and I still have one question left to tackle. So my question is that after the project period has been over, is it permissible to reuse the materials created here to provide a training at a low cost, low price?
Yes, of course. I mean, that's also a way for you to like also be sustainable, right, with your
Yes,
program,
yes,
because YSEALI says for the future funding, it's not going to be there forever, right? You have to finish your program
yes,
in November, and you already have all the materials, so you might as well just continue doing so for the next year. So yes, you definitely can. Yeah, thanks so much for
yes,
asking. Okay,
yes. Thank you so much. Yes,
no problem. I didn't get your name, but yes, thank you so much for asking.
yes.
So, Saluna, can I change the budget template to be revised per activity items rather than lump sum for all types of costs? Yes, yes, you can. And that actually helps people to actually understand, why there's such a big cost too. Because like, if you just say workshop expenses and you just ask for 5,000, we're like, why? So it will be really helpful for us to like, also have you spell out specifically which item is which. So yes, I would really appreciate like, you breaking that down for us. So John Ray says the guidelines suggest that we use problem and solution mapping to clarify causes and key intervention points. Does this mean we can provide an image to detail the problem and solution mapping within the problem statement? Well, so that is just an exercise, but we don't need to see like the whole thing. So for example, right, if you want to eat a sausage, I don't need to like, walk through the whole sausage factory. I just want to see the end product. I hope that helps. Like, because like walking us through so many of it would also make us a bit overwhelmed or confused by what you're trying to do. So I would recommend to just like provide us with like the outcome or like, the problem statement that you have specifically identified, rather than like, just showing us like all the problem statements, which is going to be quite a lot. So yeah, that that recommendation is an exercise for you to do as a team to make sure that the problem that you tackle is very specific, and like that you're identifying the correct problem instead of a symptom. But ultimately I would recommend to just stick to like just, yeah, you can still do it however you want, but as a reviewer, just know that people will be reading a lot of reviews. So like, if they can't identify a specific problem, then they'll be like, well, I don't know what I'm looking at here. So like, that might also jeopardize your applications. I hope that
Excuse
helps.
me.
Yeah,
I just like to make a follow-up question on the budget template.
yeah.
I'm seeing that the budget template is lump sum on like venue, and this one is on meals and then speaker. What I'm asking is if I can like make it in accordance to my log frame activities. Like this is activity 1.1. For instance, this is a training on leather crafting, and then activity 1.2 is another activity with maybe partners. So
Oh,
can
I
I
see.
put I itemize the items for activity 1 and then another for activity 2
I see
instead
what
of
you're
lump
I s-
sum lodging and then
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, but like, so again, putting yourself in the reviewer's shoes, like, we would be used to a very specific, like, like budget with like that's referring to the categories. So if you were to like change the budget template into like log frame method, it might be a little bit confusing. So what maybe you can consider doing is that you can still use the log frame sequence, but just separate them according to very specific categories. If you see like the categories are like different, then you'll be like, okay, I mean, yes, you have like, different log frames and different activities, but it would be helpful for us to just put, I mean, if you put them in under those categories so that the reviewers can still like kind of follow based on like what they are used to, which is the categories, because know that your application will be like there will be a lot of applications that they will be reading, so if they have to like kind of like look through, that might be a bit confusing for them.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's see. Harina, I would like to kindly inquire about the possibility of revising the title of our proposal. We recently identified a more compelling and grammatically refined title. Yes. I mean, yeah, you can, but please just say formally whatever so that we can kind of identify, because like we would probably be going back and forth between your first and second proposal, and if it's not the same, if it's not the same title, then we would be like, where did it go? So yeah, just say formally or whatever, okay? And then so Harina also says that would it be permissible to condense the timeline into key activities outlined on a month by month basis, considering the project spans 9 months, the proposal has a page limit. That's totally fine. You can definitely do that. Sabanun Hidup says, at the end of the project, do we send a budget report? Yes. So for winners, they will have to provide a progress report. So that includes a qualitative progress report and also like a financial report. So this is very legit. This is a good exercise for you guys in the future if you want to apply for more grants. We are kind of training you guys to make sure that like the things that you guys are going to do is very similar to what you're going to be doing in the future in the real world. And do we need to include quotations or receipts? Keep your receipts. We will not be asking for them unless we identify things that needs to be further investigated. So just keep the receipts, but you don't have to give them. So Tope says the 200-day SME cap is set for trainers and speakers. How about service providers like financial management, social media, back-end media processing? I remember the last time I was asked, it's okay to have service providers, but is there a dollar cap for them too? So this is a fee. And of course, like, people's fees are like determined by them and not by the team. and because of that, it's kind of hard for them. So like, yeah, again, I would just kind of err in the side of like reasonable and justifiable, and also, yeah, I would probably just like, look back to the criteria, and if it's not within the restrictions, or if it's not like specifically mentioned, I think you will be solid. So Manda, unless Tope, you have any specific if you want to unmute yourself or like clarify, but I think that's like my general answer. In the meantime, I'm gonna go with Manda, unless Tope has anything.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I'm particular with the financial management thing. That's the same. I believe it was asked last time about her team having a financial consultant, and well, because of that, we actually have one too. The problem is I'm looking at how much are we going to agree to, like a fee for it.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I mean, and I guess like, the fees is usually determined by the service provider themselves. So I think this would be something that you would need to negotiate with her, and not really something that you can determine, right? So yeah, you can just put whatever she quoted in the budget.
Okay. Yeah,
That sounds
just
reasonable.
thank you. Okay, yeah, so we'll just negotiate. But just a follow-up as well to the budget question earlier. I mean, because the template is as is, where do we put in justification for changes
Oh, thank
from
you.
the last application? Because, like for example, costs change, and then sometimes we, because of the new information like the $200 cap, then we suddenly, okay, so we need this, we did that, we need to
Yeah.
allocate some for the equipment, whatever. So where do we put in that justification in the form?
Yeah, such an excellent question. I like you already. So you can either add a sheet and then put in like all the justifications within the same budget. Alternatively, you can also insert comment. So you can do both. Insert comment, and then we will be able to like see that easily. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely it does. I have other questions, but it's in line, so it's okay.
Okay, great. I
Later,
will.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Manda says the implementation period outlined in the guidelines from March to November. How about starting the preparation in February? Preparation is great, so like, yeah, because the implementation, like, or for whatever it is, yeah, you would need to do it in March. So yeah, February is, if it's like, just preparation, that's totally fine. Because if you're selected, the kickoff workshop is going to be in February too. So that's why, like, we want to make sure that you also have time to, like, just attend the kickoff workshop without being boggled down by the implementing portion. So yeah, if it's still in March, that's totally fine. Should we define milestones or checkpoints? What is the difference between an outcome and a checkpoint? Yeah, I think a checkpoint is just kind of like, seeing where your progress is at. But yes, I think I think, yeah, just kind of checking in, like, where you are. That would be like, yeah, progress in order to come to the outcome. Because yeah, I think that's what it is, right? Hang on, let me just look at so yeah, so for example, like, I'm looking at the template right now. And you can kind of look at this, sorry. So you can look at the example that, sorry, I'm gonna go here. Okay, so yeah, so milestones is like you have, so task one is that, like, how many, sorry, for example, you're doing selections, and then, like, your milestones is that you have, like, done the recruitment, the drive, you have posted, like, how many reels, to like, recruit people. You have received like, 50 applications. That's like that's a milestone that you can get. Like, that's a goal of where you want to be. But outcome is like the total project outcome and not for that specific task. I hope that helps. And like, so if my coworkers like, want to add in or anything, chime in, feel free to do so too. So Saluna asked, should we submit the files in its original format or should we submit in PDF? I think we would prefer PDF. And I believe that's also mentioned in the submission link too. Tina says, may I also have a reminder on whether there's a maximum number of members permitted per project? There's no maximum number of members, but then we have a minimum number of 3 core members. And then if we are selectees, would we be able to apply for other projects as well? I'm not sure what you mean by other projects, but like, if you're referring to the YSEALI Seeds for the Future project, one member can only be a member of like one project. So we don't want you to be like, doing multiple projects, to be a member of multiple projects, especially as a core member. So yeah,
Can
yeah,
I
go ahead.
ask a question? Sorry.
Sure.
So my question to that was like, for example, recently this December we went to another alumni summit in Laos, and they were also offering a similar budget. So the same team members were not sure whether we should apply for that one as well, just in case if we don't get this one, or better to
see.
be safe and just apply for this one. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, for that question. If it's like a separate program from, if it's a separate program, I think, yeah, that's totally fine, as long as it's not within the YSEALI Seeds for the Future.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Topi said, acknowledgement receipts okay from the speakers or trainers. Yeah, because and because you can also create like, your own invoices and stuff too. So yes, you can. And for the service providers, since some might charge taxes, can we include those as well in the budget? Yes, you can. You can add like, so please consider any taxes, any additional fees, or that will be charged for you in the budget, so that you will not be you will not be in trouble if once you have already started and then you don't consider or like take into account all the taxes. Sam says that for the personnel cost, may I ask if there's a maximum amount that should be allocated for this item? Honoraria compensation for project team members. Also, can we put a different amount from the one we initially submitted during the phase 1 of the application, Sam? So, as I mentioned in the previous previous webinars, you should read this guide carefully, and also if it's a different amount, then you also have to justify why it's a different amount, unless you are invited to apply under a different tier. And also like for honoraria, it will be $200 per speaker. And then compensation for project team members is mostly like if they compensation is like if they had to front their own like personal expenses, and so I hope that helps. And can you give a specific example on what is expected to be included in the activity baseline? So for the activity baseline, I mean, just because it's so different, case by case. So like, for example, what is it that you're going to do? For example, if you're doing a workshop, then that means you have to do selections, then that means you have to do promotion, then that means you also have to do like, running of the workshop itself. You have to do like post-workshop evaluations. Those are like, kind of the activities that you do. Those are the examples that I can give. I hope that helps. And yeah, unless Sam, you have any specific question that you want to ask, you feel free to unmute yourself too. You guys are asking a lot of questions, which is great, by the way. Thank you so much. It means that you guys are really thinking this through. But yeah, so I hope, like, this is a very helpful session. So Kai says our team have weekly trainings for 16 persons with vision loss for 8 months. They are poor and have vision loss, so it's difficult for them to go to the venue for the weekly training. Can we pay them a small amount every week to support their transportation costs and make sure they can attend? Yeah, so you can consider that as like transportation. Yeah, so you can include that as long as, again, go back to the criteria, and if it's not specifically restricted in the guide, you can proceed with that. So yes, also can we subscribe to AI tools to help our participants progress faster during the training sessions? Yes, you can. Subscription can be part of the program because it's not specifically restricted. So again, go back to the guide if it's, and as long as they're reasonable, as long as they're justifiable, yeah, you can consider putting that in your budget. So Andy says, if the project is training or workshop, can the team member be the trainer or speaker or on it, or should it be another person? Yes, the trainers and speakers can totally be, because you guys are awesome, and I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of expertise too. So you guys can be the trainers. So in the previous webinar, we actually have a question by one of the applicant who asked if applicants or team members can be compensated for for honorarium because they are trainers. We are currently still waiting from from the US ASEAN office to get back to us. But once we do have any specific answers, we will let you guys know either in an email, or if you have any of that specific question, you can email us. Then we will try and get back to you guys once they have received once we have received some updates from them. So Shafika says that we made a minor change on the problem statement and project objective, but still within the previous submission. Is it okay? Yes, it is okay. And then if we decide to patent our apps, is it okay to include the cost? Or if we have another grant, can we patent it during the program period? I might want to defer to my coworker Nalindra if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes, but just to be safe, let us double check also with the US mission to ASEAN and the State Department, specifically under the SEEDS program, whether or not there is some specific guidance on patent and trademarks and all that. But just quickly, I think it should be yes. But again, let us double check and then let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so next question. So Fuad says, regarding food, is there a maximum budget allocation for consumption during events? Considering we expect about 500 participants and have 2 different events. Yes, so yeah, great question. Thank you so much, Fuad. Of course, food is like, the center of, Southeast Asian culture. People will not come to workshops if you don't provide food, right? So yes, because of that, I think I would go with I would go for reasonable and justifiable because, in each different communities and each different sites, the price might differ. So I would trust you that you would provide a reasonable and justifiable amount, and that is modest and not too excessive. But as long as within those, yes, for sure, yeah, people gotta eat when they have workshop, all these brain activities is making me hungry too. So concerning proposals, what type of proposals should be reviewed and considered? For example, if we're conducting a workshop or training, should the proposal detail the activity stages? I think, you should write down like the key activities that you plan to put in the workshop because, everyone wants to do a workshop, but what makes your workshop better than other people? So I think a good strategy is put yourself in the position of a reviewer who sees multiple applicants saying they want to do a workshop. How is your workshop different than other people's workshop? And and because of that, activities would be very important, right? For people to see like, oh, I don't see this activity in the other person's activity, even though they're doing the same thing about like marine conservation. So because of that, I think it would be quite important for you to like, yeah, list down your activities. But we don't need to know very specific about, for example, like, when you want to make eco breaks, I don't need to know like how many people, how many times, blah, 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 just one liner of like, key activities would be really helpful. And yeah, I don't need to know when is break time, for your workshop. Just key activities. So Adrian says, in regards to the timeline, it's scheduled from March to November. Does evaluation fall under this timeline, or can it be months after, like in December? So yes. Of course, because implementation is different, and then like you will not be able to like, evaluate or like do any reports during implementation period. So yes, we will, you'll kind of work on it after the workshop, and then like we will also have a summit, like a showcase summit in January 2026. So by then, I think, you should all be wrapping up by then. In regards, but yeah, we will kind of give you guys more on the timeline once that's a bit more definite, and like, once people are selected, then we'll provide them with like more specific timeline. So in regards to the budget allocation, are there certain percentages for each category we should follow? Like meals should not exceed 20%, or materials should be below 40%? No, so because, it's the nature of the project that might be different. So for example, if you are establishing a digital platform, it might be different than people who are running workshops, and like the categories are going to be completely different. So because of that, there is no limit, but I would recommend that you use your judgment to make sure that it's a reasonable amount of budget. So like, if you were to put like 90% on travel, I'm like, where are you guys traveling to? Like, are you really doing this for like community impact, or is this like a personal vacation for the team members, So something like that, I guess. And then in the budget restrictions, it has capital expenditures and construction. Our concern is that our rainwater harvesting system training provides skills training for the community and for carpentry, and we will be building or adding rainwater harvesting systems in existing houses. Does this fall under restriction under construction? Thank you so much. I mean, that's a very like things are always in the gray, right? It's not just black or white. So thank you for asking this question. I think if you're not purchasing like heavy machineries, or you're not installing major systems in these things, that's fine, because you're just buying, you're just, and I might misunderstand your projects too, but yeah, as long as you're not purchasing like heavy machineries, like I don't know, like a sawmill or something, but and this is like a carpentry, like a woodworking, yeah, this is a woodworking thing, and using machineries are fine, but purchasing machineries are not fine. So if you already have those machineries ready to use, then you can just use them for your trainings, and like, yeah, you can also like use that as a, yeah, and you can use that in like, existing houses. But Nalindra, did I get that right? Or like, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Yep, no, I think you're quite on point.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so Adrian also says that, do you prefer more beneficiary or not necessarily? We have infrastructure plus education in our project. Almost 50% of the funds are purely for materials for infrastructure. So the others are allocated for education, transportation, and other things, which I think is very limited. What do you think is the reviewer's preference? We can decrease the number of beneficiaries for infrastructure, so we can reduce costs, or 50% totally okay. I think, yeah, I mean, so when it comes to infrastructure, it's a little bit like, a bit complicated because of like, due to the restrictions that we have. So please like make sure that you're really, because for us, I would say that for YC Seeds for the Future, like, the focus should always be on the impact. So by creating these infrastructures and stuff, like, one is that are you really still within the restrictions? Because if you're like, too if you're too gray, then people might wanna consider something that is a little bit more clear cut. So make sure that you really read through the restrictions and make sure that you're not falling within those restrictions. And then yeah, as for YSEALI Suites for the future, it's an impact incubator. So like consider like, how much of an impact can you give to people? And like, this is also another issue, right? Because like what does impact mean? Because sometimes impact means like, very deep impact for like a more intimate number of beneficiaries, as opposed to like, 5,000 like very large number of people, but over the course of like one day, where they will not be able to gain as much, as opposed to like a deeper conversation. Both are not wrong, both are styles, and both are like, proposals, and we also want diversity in our proposals. So because of that, like, I trust your discretion and use your judgment. And when in doubt, like, always refer to peers, ask your mentors, and send your proposal to your mentors, or like, someone that you trust to give like really good feedback, so that you can and then ask them what would they do if they were the reviewer, and ask them for like very constructive feedback on how you can make sure that what you're doing is in the right track. So Vietnam coding for sustainability. Are we doing project in we are doing project in 3 communities. Do we need to submit 3 proposals for each community, or will cover all communities in one proposal? Please cover them all in one proposal, because I'm pretty sure like, essentially the activities are going to be the same, similar themes and similar goals. So just one proposal will do. So Topi says, is real-time reallocation allowed? For example, we were able to save on some costs during the training sessions because local government decided to take care of the food. Okay, we file a request to have some savings spent on other parts of the budget, or maybe some line items go beyond the budget. Yeah, so is it okay to pivot just to keep the set budget here? Yes, so we mentioned this as an amendment. So yeah, amendments should should be communicated, and as if you are selected, you will be paired with a project management mentor. So like, we can kind of like work through like your amendments also. So yeah, don't fret too much about it, because there's a lot of like contingencies, and things happen, that's why it's a project, you don't it's not a textbook that you're writing. You're constantly dealing with like different things, and you're putting out different fires every day. So we totally understand, and we can definitely support you through mentorship and support. Fika says, regarding monitoring and evaluation, are we required to purchase specific tools, or we can use website as a public monitoring during the project? Honestly, like monitoring evaluation, I don't know, like sometimes it can have like, it requires some money, but most times it doesn't, because sometimes it's just sending evaluation surveys to people, and you can just use Google Form for that, it doesn't cost a dime. But yeah, it depends on what tools you want to use. And so as a reviewer, I will be looking at those monitoring and evaluation tools in your budget item. I'm like, do they really need this? Or is there like a free way? I mean, why do they need to use this? Like, can they do this for free instead? And then I'll be asking that question, and you would probably have to like make sure that you have them justified if you feel very strongly about those monitoring and evaluation tools. Let's see. So Tam says, we're planning to propose a scope of work on youth training activities in the form of field tours to improve their understanding of climate change. I love field tours. In collaboration with the Institute of a university. Can we pay the Institute for a training package, which on a financial documents is training activities to improve capacity? If the Institute plans to coordinate the tour as part of the training, they will pay for the tour part. We will reimburse the name of the training course. Is such mechanism valid? So ultimately you're describing this institution as a service provider where you pay them for a tour, for an educational tour, and for all their expertise and services. So you can do this. But at no point should any of the participants be the ones bearing the cost. So yeah, just yeah, as long as that is the case, then you are fine because they are service providers at this point. Will YSEALI organizers provide us with financial handbook afterwards? No, I'm not sure about handbook, but I think like, we will kind of cover things through through the kickoff workshop. And then we will also provide you with like templates for financial reporting. So I think, they're relatively basic. And we can kind of like, work through it together, and you will be provided with like mentorship, guidance, and support to help you like with like reporting, financing, and stuff. I know it's like I'm pretty sure like for many of you guys this is also like a project that's a new project for you. And like when I received my first YC seats for the future, I was like, I don't know how to manage money because I'm just like but don't worry, like there will be support and guidance given to you. So like hopefully this is also a great way for you to like train and also to learn on how to like manage finances better, because yeah, it's a lot of money that you need to be responsible for. So we have to make sure that everything is is clean and transparent, because yeah, money is a very sticky subject. So Novia says in the example, there's objective part 1 in the project structure table, but in the template, it's more to some questions. Just want to make sure my assumption that some questions before project structure rows that is objective part as I'm following the example given. Let me see. Let me read through the. Can you clarify what you mean by this question, Novia?
Yeah. But sorry, my back sound.
It's fine.
So in the template, um, we were asked about problem statement until project impact, and then there is project structure, outcome, and others. But in the example, um, the example in the project structure, there is objective role, right? Before outcome one, the example.
I will share my screen and you can share with me what you're not sure about. Okay, so this is the example.
Yeah, in the example above outcome one, there is objective role. No. Go down. Yeah, project structure, right? There is objective.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Yeah, so I would just I see, because this is the outcome, right?
Yeah, it directly should we add one row about objective, or
I think you can just stick to the template and just just follow this template and follow the outcome.
okay. And the last question about the maximum pages, it is 5, right? But 5 is only until the project structure table, or no, or the whole until the monitoring and others.
Wait, sorry. 5? Oh, you're talking about the timeline?
No, the template, and there is statement in the guideline that we have maximum 5 pages.
Oh, yes, 5 pages, yes.
5 pages is for the whole question, or it is until the tables, like the Gantt chart? And
Yes, everything. Like your proposal should only be 5 pages and that's it.
okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Arisa says, hi there. Hi. Just want to double check if we have any organization that we're going to sponsor. I believe it falls under cost share. where do we specify the items in the budget sheet? Would it be under rows 9 onwards, or do I have to create a new sheet? So yeah, that's a great question. So let's go through the sample that I have. So it depends on what they want to sponsor you. So let's go to the sample that I have here. So sample budget template. So technically, for example, here, American Corner sponsored this venue space, and because of that, I put it as, you can either put the specific number here, and then you put under cost share. So for example, if this is $100, it would cost $100 to put, to have a to rent a space in American Corner. You can put here also. But sometimes they don't name their price, and because of that, you can just put 0. Whichever, like however that looks like for you, because it also depends on case by case basis. I hope that helps. And yeah, so let me know, Arisa, if you have any specific questions. So Nurul asks, on the budget form, if a monitoring and evaluation includes a per diem for personnel, it should be detailed on what aspects will it cover.
I just answered this also on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying no need, because usually per diem is pretty straightforward, right? I guess we just have to be, I just want to make sure that we're sort of like on the same page in terms of what per diem is. But yeah, I think per diem doesn't need to be detailed.
Yeah, Nalindra, do you want to specify a little bit and just clarify for the rest of them who might miss the chat?
Yeah, sure. I mean, per diem is a daily allowance, right? That we pay usually for an individual or a team member or speakers, facilitators, whoever, right, to cover traveling expenses. And that's basically what per diem is. So when you said per diem, usually we would already know what it entails. And that's why you don't need to kind of like put details on what is covered by the per diem. But feel free to jump in also about from your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think you rightfully mentioned it. Yeah, so per diem, yeah, as Nalindra mentioned, it's like basically like how much do you need to sustain for your day, because we are taking you away from your work, we're taking you away from your studies. So you also definitely need to eat, you also need to travel, you need to find accommodation and things like that. So that's like essentially what per diem is. Yes, I believe that we are 3 minutes above, beyond time. I hope this has been helpful, but yeah, and it seems like I believe we have also finished answering all the questions. You guys asked us 54 questions that we have managed to answer. So I'm very proud of you guys. Thank you so much. Really love all the questions, because it really shows how thoughtful and how thorough you guys are in asking us. So yes, it's such an honor, talking to you guys, and you guys are so amazing. I really hope that you put, your passion as a reviewer, and maybe Nalindra, or Putri, if you want to also, if you want to provide any like reviewers tips, to our applicants here. But personally for me, I can see if you are writing with your heart and with your passion, as opposed to this is just an idea that I think will be great for my CV, or this is something that I just asked ChatGPT to write. I think we have the heart to to feel which one really speaks from the heart. It's actually very obvious. So 2 is that just give grace to the reviewers, because they will be reviewing hundreds and hundreds of applications. So what grace means in this sense is that make sure that you just assume that nobody understands anything about your project. So don't assume, don't use acronyms that we've never heard before. You're from ISAC. I'm like, I don't know what's ISAC. So yeah, don't just assume that this is people's first time hearing it. And because of that, make sure that you are very concise, but also very foundational and very basic in your answers. And then the next one that, like, my third tip is make sure you ask feedback from friends, from peers, or from like mentors. I think whatever feedback that they're going to give you is going to be very valuable, because it's probably going to be the same questions that we will be asking you, but we might not have the capacity to provide you those individual feedbacks. Nalindra or Putri, if you guys want to share any like review tips.
No, I think you kind of cover everything. Yeah, it's pretty much sort of like what Amalina was saying, right? So write it from the heart, right? We can actually read, right? When you like how passionate you are with the project, why are you doing this? And then the impact that you actually wanted to contribute. So we can read between the lines in a sense, right? And then with the multiple reviewer, I guess, yeah, everybody, like each reviewer will bring in different perspective while reading the project proposal. So I guess, yeah, just be very candid, be very honest, succinct. I think that's important as well. Like Amalina was saying earlier before, right? Like, if you can try to convey your message in a very direct way, right? And it's also, it's a good exercise, I guess, what Amalina was saying earlier, right? To kind of like, yeah, it's a story. I think everyone here would be able to do it, right? You post content on different social media in a very, succinct way, I guess, right? So maybe try to look at
should
that.
be amazing.
Try to look at it that way, right? And then I see some last minute questions. I hope I answered them already on the chat. But definitely you will all get the recording, right? So if you missed the question because of your connection and whatnot, you can revisit this recording again later. And yeah, 1 week. Good luck. Again, you don't need to wait until the deadline. If you're ready to actually submit now, we actually encourage you to submit early, right? But yeah, really, yeah, looking forward to read all your proposals. Good luck. And I'm sure, yeah, all the proposals going to be awesome. We're going to have a hard time in terms of like deciding.
I know. Yeah, and Putri, feel free to jump in, but if not, it's totally okay too. All right, so I want to share with you guys. Okay. Because people are asking, like, moving forward, how many people is going to be able to survive this next round? So for emerging leaders, there will be 12 winners. So like if you are applying for the 5,000 budget, there will be 12 winners. If you are applying for the featured projects, there will be that's worth $8,000. There will be 9 winners. And finally, for Impact Accelerator, it's obviously the most competitive because it's like the biggest pot of money. And there will only be 4 winners. So I hope this clarifies, and you know what to do. And like as Nalindra mentioned, it's gonna be extremely difficult. I'm already attached to you guys. So it's gonna be difficult for me to like review all the questions already. So yes, I don't want to take any more of your precious Saturday. So yes, I hope you guys have a great day and hope this webinar is going to be helpful for you guys. And yeah, I look forward to reading all your applications on December 20th. Have a good day. And yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and say selamat tinggal or like goodbye in your language.
Paalam.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
you.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Salamat ka, Rajaw.
Thank you. Paalam.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih.